Am I audible? Okay, good. So how we go about this innovation forum? First of all, we'll talk about a few studies that we have seen after COVID pandemic from both Forbes and BCG. Yeah, you can check that slide. And then we'll lead to the panelists to make some small presentations, about 5 minutes each, 5-7 minutes each. And then we'll come back and talk about individual excellence in innovation, what our panelists could bring in, and the process of innovation in their own organizations, how it is adding value and keeping their cutting edge positions in their own field of work. And then after that, we'll take question and answers from the audience and deliberate upon few ideas and few things which will probably help you, or maybe at least if not help, it will at least start you thinking. And innovation always, starts with here, just right here, somewhere it will click that some customer requirement, something will lead to innovation. So without much more time wastage, I will just go quickly to the Forbes report of top innovating companies. Yeah. So if you see here, all the biggies are on there. Apple is on the 5th position in this list, and this is 2021. You can see that innovative companies based on innovation, came back with quite a solid strength, come back into the economy and really doing well in terms. I don't want to spend much time on these things, and of course, few things. The common element of definition is a focus on newness, something new, something customer oriented, something that transforms ideas and technologies. This is what we are looking for in innovation. And categories, we talked about product and process and strategy, all 3 areas of innovation probably will be touching upon from panelists. Can be sustaining and disruptive, and creativity, willingness, and risk taking. We will not go very formal in these sessions because time is limited. We'll just go and talk about how and what this group of special panelists have achieved, and how this can be a learning process for all of us. If you look at the Forbes report, BCG report, and you see post-COVID, the companies that came up, really the innovative companies, the executives who think that top 3 priorities are innovation in their processes and product and in the strategy. Those are the companies came up very strongly after the COVID. So all these 3 slides were just to make an introduction and make a conviction that innovation actually works, and it works for you to give you business leadership. So with that, I will. What is the process of the next one is Pradyumna Mitra? Can I? Probably you have to help me out. What is the next one? Pradyumna Mitra to talk about a few things about he did in organization, and then we'll be following up with Peter, and we'll end up with Dr. Shura.
Good afternoon to the respected panelists, the audience, and to the people who are connected online today. Ladies and gentlemen, are we passing through difficult times? Yes, we are. Business slowdown for the last couple of years due to various government decisions, impact of pandemic, volatile newsprint price, and high OPEX have throttled the growth. Most of the companies deferred their capex plans or upgrade projects. But history has proven that crisis always pushes people to think differently, and new opportunity emerges. I would rather borrow a quote from Mr. Barack Obama, former US president, who once said, "When times get tough, we don't give up, we get up." ABP is not an exception. We realize that it's time to relook, introspect, and realign. Due to paucity of time, I would touch on some improvement projects, how we tackled COVID in situations and continued operations, what are the process improvements we did in last couple of years, how we tried to enhance maintenance reliability using technology, what were the challenges we faced during wave width reduction, what else we did to reduce process further, what were the green initiative and energy saving measures we took in some of our plants, and most importantly, how we plan to upskill our colleagues to improve efficiency. Once lockdown was announced, it was a sudden shock to us. We didn't know how production could be continued with minimum presence at our plant. We enabled remote working through VPN connectivity, self-help IT tools was installed, network was strengthened. All these efforts helped us to achieve 92% work from home. Even editorial meetings started happening via Zoom, which we never heard of. Product handling and delivery was another area where we focused from day one during pandemic. Pagination optimized for one-shot printing, bundles plastic wrapped, telescopic conveyor installed for direct truck loading, priority given to use masks, sanitizer, and thermal screening. Vaccination drive started for employees and third-party personnel. As a part of cost-saving measure, we reduced the splice step from 50 mm to 38 mm. But we observed that some of the splice copy did not get sensed by sensor or PLC and went to the market. This created a bad image among readers and advertisers. We analyzed that due to the reduction in PLC scan time at higher linear speed, it remained undetected. So we installed sensor and release mechanism at gripper section. Due to lower linear speed of paper, it was sensing with 100% accuracy, and chances of going to market became zero. During installation of UV system, we found that interface was required between UV system and press for handshaking of information like speed, impression on, wave break, UV system healthy, wave width, press in wash mode, etc. We developed the PLC system locally and successfully implemented the project. Getting it done by OEM would have been much more costly. We also observed that people are getting engaged in repetitive work for preparing MIS reports, multiple data entry sheets, data duplication, chances of human error, and manual loss are the inherent problems in such manual work. We have developed software for tracking wastage, productivity, downtime, ink mileage, so on and so forth, including various reports along with trend analysis and Pareto charts. Recently, we installed Kodak Prosper variable data print system. It opens up opportunity for additional ad revenue and subscription with the help of paid content via digital link, micro zoning, localized advertisement, gift hamper, and offers, so on and so forth. Prepress is another area where we worked on process improvements, developed XML generation app, developed script, which automated a lot of process, and hence human intervention was not required anymore. Enabled file transfer through cloud when conventional network connectivity got affected during recent cyclones in West Bengal. Currently, we are in the process of implementing PPI for integrating editorial, ad scheduling, prepress, press, and online content. To enhance maintenance reliability, further, we introduced ultrasound measurement for condition monitoring of rotating parts. This actually helped us avoiding unwanted stoppage of press during production. Similarly, thermal imaging is another technology which we adopted to identify concern area or pinpoint hotspots and take preventive measures. Wave width reduction was a major challenge for us, where we didn't compromise on print area. A lot of issues came up during implementation. Needed to convert existing plate bending machine from single plate to panoplate production, folder former adjustment, issue with workflow software, issues with camera positioning and actuation of sliter and propeller. We handled all the challenges and completed the project successfully. Waste reduction is another area where we needed to find out new scope. We worked on blanket washing system and optimized the cycle parameter to reduce washing waste. Reel and dia was reduced to 110 mm based on roll condition, and we were able to reduce reel and waste further from 0.13% to 0.08%. We also looked at our maintenance schedule and moved from day-based maintenance to running hour-based maintenance. This helped us to save consumable cost. In case of UV printing, startup waste and re-startup waste was a major concern for us. We worked on optimizing startup speed, ink sequencing, pre-inking parameters, preset values, so on and so forth. All these efforts helped us to reduce GNP waste considerably. It was really a learning curve for our press operators. As a part of our green initiative, we have installed soilscape-based ETP for treatment of process waste. No chemical is used, contrary to conventional ETP. Rather, shrubs like Canna indica was planted to treat the waste. We are able to achieve zero waste discharge to external environment. 478 kilowatt peak grid-tied solar modules were installed under BOOT model with zero capex to take care of the daytime power demand. Energy is one of the major components of cost. We put serious efforts to reduce consumption. Apart from common initiatives like LED lights, motion sensor, variable speed drive for HUs, we thought beyond, like using different temperature and humidity set point of chiller and dehumidification system in different seasons. We also carried out harmonic analysis and installed active harmonic filter to reduce losses. We installed air core transformer for stabilized 220 supply for reduction of consumption by illumination system. Last but not the least, ABP has given highest priority to upscale the skill set of our team. Various training sessions organized on technical subjects as well as program on behavioral change to trigger creativity and innovations. In-house PCB repair workshop has been developed, which saved us sourcing of costly imported and local modules or cards. ABP promoted innovation hub for out-of-the-box ideas, which received a lot of innovative ideas for improvement. This has created a culture of thinking differently across the organization. Today, I would like to reiterate, as famous American motivational speaker, Mr. Tony Robbins said, your current situation does not determine your future. Your future is determined by your decision to succeed. Thank you all for your patience here.
Hello. So before I call Peter to talk about, let's quickly kind of start thinking about what Pradyumna has touched upon. You know, from green initiatives, power savings, power optimization, to getting into nitty-gritties of the operations, setting up the different parameters in the machine, hybrid cooling system, everything, almost every part of the, including web width reduction, without compromising the area of print. So many areas he touched upon very, very briefly. And I know ABP to be a very innovative company. From the day one, I knew ABP and worked for them. So it is an area where Pradyumna has touched upon briefly, including creating positive training sessions, etc., to promote creative thinking, promote innovative thinking. So all this is a complete package for ABP, and we really, really are willing to take questions from the audience. And if any of these areas you would like to know more from Pradyumna. Okay. With that, I would like to call Peter to come in and present his part of the innovative ideas.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. I would like to start by saying that at BCCL, we have developed a robust, a simple, and a very effective process of innovation over the years. Okay, so since our product innovation is our star performer, I'd like to take you to the process that we actually adopt at BCCL, which we use to generate new products year after year. Sorry, some of it is missing. There's some processes that are missing. Anyway, I'll just take you through it. So what happens is, at our BCCL plants, at all our plants, we have ideation sessions that are conducted every month. So we have a lot of ideas that are generated. And these ideas are all brought together at half-yearly innovation meetings. So all the plants bring the ideas to these half-yearly innovation meetings, and a lot of deliberation happens. And there we kind of scrutinize all the innovations, whether it will work for our double width presses, our single width presses. And then we choose around about 25, 30 really good innovations, the ones that we feel that are viable for press trials. So these press trials are then conducted with these 25 innovations, and the ones that survive the press trials, which takes about 2 months, where it's written repeat process for 2 months. So these press trials are done for over a period of 2 months, and the ones that actually make it out of the press trials, which have all the makings of a good innovation, those are then taken to our leadership. Our leadership reviews it, and then it's given to the plants, because we have so many plants all across India, and they interact with the local marketing department. So they take it to the local marketing department, who then also evaluates it for what is the response in the market. Once that is done, the response department rolls out these innovations to the market. And in some cases, we do get market feedback. Like I remember we had the first innovation, the most revered one, that is the half lap. We received some kind of feedbacks, we did some modifications, and it became a hit. Yeah, okay, everything's on the slide. So like I was saying, the vertical jacket, that is the half jackets, that was one of BCCL's first innovation. So this was introduced somewhere in the early 2000s. It was the half flap. I just got one copy. I just got it because it was our first innovation. It's called the half flap. So basically what happens is, advertisers who were doing half pages, half vertical pages, they started saying that we want something that is unique, that is exclusive for me. I don't want to share the page with half of editorial. I want an exclusive page for myself, and I want it as a half page. So what we did is, we worked upon this half flap and we introduced it to the market. So we had the half flap, which was quite a hit. All the advertisers who were advertising with Times of India were happy because they got an exclusive page for themselves. Later on, we came with the concept called as jackets, wherein you have a full page ad just below the masthead. So they get the Times of India masthead along with the full page ad, and we called it jackets. So later on, the advertisers were happy. Later on, they said, boss, you have done flaps and jackets, but I want something more. I want you to fold the paper in the left direction, right direction, top, bottom. So, okay, we got thinking, and we got some equipment called as the pre-rod folder or the plow folder. So we install plow folders, and the plow folder also, they kind of give us another 5, 6 more innovations, like the super panorama, the gate fold, plow fold, French window. So people were happy, advertisers were happy. After some time, they came saying, boss, your product is good, you have nice innovations, but say, for example, you take this half flap. It's a nice innovation, but it's not attached to the paper. So what happens is, when a guy is reading the paper, it tends to kind of fall off. So what the advertisers were saying, I will normally take this half flap on the inside pages. At the same time, the advertiser on the last page was saying, boss, if I advertise on a day there's a half flap, your readers are going to take this paper, keep it aside, and start reading. So visibility is lost. At the same time, the pre-wrote folder used to give us folds left, right, center, but the problem was the same. You were having people removing these innovations and reading the paper. So that got us thinking. We said, let's what do next is to let us glue these innovations to the paper so nobody can remove it. So all the advertisers would be happy. So then putting up gluing at all our facilities would be very simple. You go to the market, purchase some gluing equipments, and just put it on a press. But no, we didn't do that. Our in-house team got thinking and they developed an in-house gluing system which could do the same things that the one that the market could do, and at a fraction of the cost. So we introduced gluing. So first thing, gluing, if you see, it opened up a plethora of innovations that could not be done before. Like I said, we had flaps, jackets, and something that we could do with the plow folder, so about 10 innovations in all. But with gluing, till date, we have done almost 160 different kind of innovations, which we can offer to the advertisers. I've just named a few, but there are many more. Okay, so after some time, the advertisers came back. Okay, you have done the paper, left, right, top, bottom, stuck it at every possible position. Now, can you give me something more? Can you give me something that's glossy? Something that's called JNP. You guys have been doing JNP for your Times Live, brand equity, this, that, but it's all cold. I want something that's hot. Can you give me a JNP jacket on the main Times of India? Of course, we went back to the drawing board. We installed some equipment. And next to have it, we had the JNP jacket. Lastly, I come to the fifth color. The fifth color also we were doing on our heat set presses, wherein we had the fifth color facility. But this particular facility was not available on our live presses, that is on our color mans and our monograph machines. So the process of getting fifth color on live editions was the brainchild of our technical director, Mr. Roy. He actually pushed us to develop this process wherein we could even give fifth color in the live run. So UV, the UV jackets, the one in the middle, the JNP jackets, it's one of our, a star performers in our innovation lineup. So I'll just take you to the UV story. But before I take you there, I'll show you a glimpse of our in-house gluing equipment, which we had developed, that our in-house team had developed. So that's the main gluing equipment on the left and the close-up of all the gluing nozzles running on the press. Now I come to the JNP story, like I told you before. So initially, when we introduced the JNP jackets, I'm sorry, some images are missing here. So the JNP jacket was introduced as a 4-page jacket. So it was doing quite well, but later on we thought if we are offering 4 pages, we are having more cost because the advertiser is only on the front. The last page is just going, it's adding to our cost. So later on, our marketing department told us, okay, boss, we have to give a 2-page JNP jacket. So that would mean running a 1375 or a quarter reel on a double width press, which actually added to the degree of difficulty during the night operations. So anyway, we took trials. We did a lot of modification to our presses, minor modifications, adding some trolleys, some drag rollers, some Metco coated rollers, which actually gave the web some stability. And coupled with our gluing equipment, we were able to glue only 2 pages of JNP on the front. Later on, during our festival season, we had advertisers who came on the same day, say, boss, I want JNP jacket. Even the other client wants JNP jacket. So how do we cater to that? So what we did is the 4 pages that were printed as 2 in the front, 2 at the back, we managed to bring all 4 pages in the front. Thereby, we were able to give 2 customers JNP jackets on the same day, one after the other. So this again, increased our degree of difficulty 4-fold because we had to print on 2 different formats and the gluing did not happen at the toner bar or at the lead levels. It happened in the most critical part of the press, that is in the folder. So we did the 4-page gluing in the folder. And that was another hit, especially during our festival seasons. Lastly, not say lastly, sorry. Then we came to the another request wherein they said we wanted GNP at the center of the edition, at the front page, last page, at the center. So we called it Flexi GNP. Some modifications in the hardware to the press, wherein we were able to offer GNP not in the front, not in the center, any position in your edition. So we call that Flexi HD or Flexi GNP. And last I come to the Super Panorama, which was something that was done last week for an auto client, wherein we did all 8 pages GNP on the front, and the inside part of the GNP opened up to be a 4-page wide panorama, which we call the Super Panorama. I have an animation. I just hope it works. I'll show you what the Super Panorama looks like. So this was, oh, 1 page is missing. So this was the 4 wide Super Panorama that we printed for our client Maruti, which actually got a good response from the market, and we're getting a lot of queries regarding this particular innovation. And lastly, I bring you to what we're working on, some special papers. That's LWC and craft paper. Thank you.
So from innovation across the printing operations to specific product innovation, which Peter talked about, PCCL has gone through these waves of innovation. I think they're on 14th wave right now, 14th to 15th, 14th wave right now. And every time the waves came and it actually fulfilled customer requirement to a new scale, and our revenue year on year, just because of these product variations. I don't know how good it is for the readers, may not be very good, but actually somehow they tolerated it during the festival time. They knew we had to make money to be sustainable for throughout the year. The revenues of who gives a very cheap newspaper with takes money from the advertisers. So we needed to give something to them every year, and 18 to 20% year on year revenue was purely because of additional revenue, purely because of these innovations. So this is product innovations. Now I request Dr. to come up and talk about in their complete different area, and all of you are not familiar with automobile industry and how it innovates and how it takes the new horizon. We'll listen to him for a few minutes and then we'll take the questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know everyone has had a heavy lunch. My intent is to wake you up. So I'm not going to bore you with too many slides. I've been given a clean slate to talk, fortunately, by the moderator. So my job today in the next few minutes is to have you remember something out of this panel discussion, something that you can take away, something that you will cherish. So I'm going to, yes, touch upon the automotive industry, but I am going to first talk about what innovation is. And clearly I am kind of a funny fit in this panel because I'm not from the printing industry, not from the press. But then innovation is innovation, right? It's something that happens across all industries. The last time I felt like this was when I was moderating a panel for a women entrepreneur forum. Obviously, I was neither a woman nor an entrepreneur, but I think it worked out well. So I have good hopes for this as well. All of you have used toothbrushes. Everybody has used a toothbrush, which is why I wanted to pick that example. And when you take a toothbrush, you would probably think that there is nothing left to innovate in that toothbrush, right? It's been done to death. And every toothbrush ad that you see is talking about some small change that they did in the bristles or some color or some shape somewhere, right? That's all it is. And then one fine day you had electric toothbrushes, which was an innovation. They claimed it brushes your teeth better. But then let's come back to the regular good old toothbrush. Forget the electric for a second, right? So in a product like that, where you would really believe that there is nothing more to do, there is a new kind of toothbrush coming, believe it or not, right? So what happened was the toothbrush companies went and talked to customers, which is everybody uses a toothbrush, and asked them, what is your pain point with a toothbrush? And interestingly, it had nothing to do with brushing. It had everything to do with packing a toothbrush in a toilet case. And you have to use a transparent bag or whatever when you fly these days, right? And the toothbrush is the one that juts out the most. It's the longest item in your toilet case, right? Everything else can be small. Toothpaste can be small, your soap can be small, everything can be small in that, right? So that was the pain point, the fact that the toothbrush juts out of the bag. And that led to an innovation. People were wondering, okay, the brushing part is only the bristle part. The stick is not really doing anything. So you have a stick and you have a bristle, right? That's all a toothbrush is. The stick is not really serving a function, and it's actually inconveniencing the customer. So what do you do? How do you innovate, right? So the new toothbrush that's coming does not have a stick in it. What it has is just has the bristle portion, which is about 2 inches in size, or maybe 1.5 inches in size. And it has a little loop in the back, an elastic loop, where you put your finger and your finger becomes the stick. So that is innovation. It's very simple. But it started from a real customer requirement, and they worked back to how they can modify a product where literally people thought the product was, I mean, there's nothing, it's saturated. There's nothing more you can do with it, right? So with that little example, I just have 3 slides. As I promised, I won't bore you with too many slides. So I'm going to show you a couple of things just like that. Okay. This is a $1 million problem. If you solve this, you will be a millionaire, right? I'm talking about movies. Everybody loves movies, which is why I picked this example. So there are 3 favorite topics in India, right? Movies, cricket, and food. So you can talk about any of these topics and you can win the audience. So I'm picked movies. So how do you predict a movie that has not yet been released, whether it will be a hit or a flop? That's the question I'm posing. And I've posed this question to other audiences in the past. And I converge on the same answer in the end. Okay. And this is actually quite relevant to your industry as well. And I will come to that at a later point. Right. So I've just put there a collage of various Indian movies, and Indian movies are always our favorite. Right. We all probably watch some English movies as well, but the masala content in Indian movies is something that we all admire. Right. So I'm going to kind of tie this into innovation. Right. So what is an innovative idea which will help you create, let's say, a software package, or create an algorithm, or create a decision-making process, an innovative decision-making process, which will allow you to predict whether a movie will be a hit or a flop just before it releases. Okay. I'm sure all of you are wondering that this is a crazy problem to pose, but that's innovation, right? So you have to solve problems that sound unsolvable to start with. Right. So this problem sounds unsolvable, and every movie distributor would like to know the answer. They'd like to know if the movie they are buying from the producer is going to work well or is not going to work well, right? So I usually ask this question in an interactive session, but since the time is limited, I'll try and summarize what I normally hear from the audience when I post this question. So if you look at the data, if you go back 60, 70 years of movie making and figure out what has worked, right? You will come up with many answers. You will come up with star power as one factor. You will come up with music as another factor. You will come up with storyline as a factor. You will come up with comedy as a factor. You will come up with action as a factor, right? But then as you go through time, especially in the last couple of decades, right, you will realize that it is the intersection of 2 or more of these factors which has made a movie work. What did Jackie Chan do? He intersected action and comedy. He came from a film industry which was churning out kung fu movies. He differentiated himself. He innovated by combining action with comedy, and therefore he was successful. He built a brand for himself in that way, right? What did Bahubali do? It took classic Indian masala intersected that with special effects. And therefore they were a hit. So whoever finds these sweet spot intersections is the winner today. They have a saying that innovation happens at the intersection of disciplines, and it's really true. I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, and we say the same thing within engineering disciplines. Gone are the days where people are just mechanical engineers, just chemical engineers, just electrical engineers. That's gone. And innovation in individual disciplines has saturated. Maybe there's a few ideas left. But the person who knows both, who knows mechanical and electrical engineering, for instance, is the person who's going to innovate. Or at least people who form a team which is multidisciplinary, sit in the same place and brainstorm, are the people who are going to come out with the bright ideas. That's where the sparks will fly. Right? So that exactly is what is happening to the movie industry. People are literally looking for intersections of various genres. And now that you kind of heard this, if you go back and see which movies did well, right, you will realize that they were very smart about intersecting a good storyline with music, for instance, or a good storyline with special effects, or something completely unheard of. There was a movie called Life of Pi, which intersected special effects and spirituality. Right? So those are the unique intersections which are working in the market. If you go to a new restaurant, you will find that it is fusion cuisine, an intelligent combination, and it is an intersection of two different kinds of cuisine, which will really work well as a new restaurant, right? So innovation happens at the intersection of disciplines. I'm repeating. So that's the mantra that's going to come out of this. Another favorite problem everybody loves to talk about, everybody loves to complain about, is the traffic problem, right? And if I pose another crazy question to you, to the audience, saying, how do you solve the traffic problem? I'm going to state it as simply in one short sentence like that, right? And I post this to a bunch of small school kids, primary school kids, right? And the answer I got back was just overwhelming, just to show that how much innovation you can think of in such a problem that we just go through every day and we never think of innovating, right? I mean, okay, one straight answer, maybe government has to build bigger roads, yes. But short of that, right, given what we have whatever roads we have how many other vehicles we have, how do you solve the traffic problem? So the kids that I had posed this problem to did not see the vehicles in the picture. They saw the gaps between the vehicles. So apart from the vehicles, there are also plenty of gap. And in fact, you will realize that there is a lot of space on that road, quite a bit of gap. So the question that they asked me back was, why is there so much gap? Why can't we put more vehicles on the road? So rather than solve the traffic problem by reducing the number of vehicles on the road, why can't we put a lot more vehicles on the road and therefore push many more people from start to destination? That's the goal, right? Of transport. You have to push as many people as you can from their starting point to their destination point, right? And pushing many more vehicles on the road means filling up those gaps. And the answer that I got is, if you go to a very crowded street where even traffic cannot ply, a street that is full of human beings, you will find that there are no gaps. Why? Because human beings are flexible people. They are not afraid to push each other. Right? I'm thinking from the child's perspective. This is the answer that I got from that primary school audience. Human beings are not afraid to push each other. We don't get scratched. We don't get dented. We are flexible. We have flexible bodies. We use our shoulders to move each other. We are not afraid of hitting. If the same psychology can come into automobiles that do not scratch, automobiles that do not dent, if you can make it out of a material that is flexible like a human being, of course, it cannot be infinitely flexible, but flexible to a point. So what they did was they converted a traffic problem into a materials technology problem, right? That is innovation. Thinking completely outside of the box, right? So can you have, so I am sitting in traffic, I see a gap between two vehicles in front of me. Am I brave enough to literally squeeze through that gap? Right? And if my vehicle is made of a material that can't squeeze through that gap. I know I'm sounding crazy, but that's the intent of my talk, right? Okay. So this is innovation. So I just wanted to throw some thoughts out there, right? How do you better intersect? I'm using the word intersect again and again because of that movie example, because we know that where you intersect, you can innovate. So in your industry, in your business, how do you better intersect with the technology, right? So your industry, at least to the limited extent that I understand it, was the original IT industry. I mean, the I was always there, the T came later, right? So what happened? Why did somebody call themselves IT, right? So how do you better intersect the I that you already have with T and come up with all kinds of new ideas, right? So that is something, it's a question that I wanted to throw open to the audience, right? And the press reports technology, the press talks about what technology is happening in the world. When is the press going to enable technology? Right? Technology is also enabled through publications. It's enabled through journals that people share research through those kinds of publications. So what is the next step? Can you literally be the enabler for technology? Second question, how do you better intersect with people, right? Facebook is also essentially a news media, right? Especially it's news of a completely different nature. It's the kind of news called gossip that everybody wants to hear, right? But it's the favorite with the people. That's why it connects, right? Why didn't the newspaper industry start Facebook? And but what is next if not Facebook, right? So micro level news, customized news. Third one is data. How do you better intersect with data? And I believe that these are the people sitting here in this room who have had access to data for the last century. You're the one who's been publishing the data, right? If it's raining in Chennai today, you've had all the weather reports for the last century. Every newspaper that has published the weather reports. So the data is there with you. Why is some private person forecasting the weather? Why is the government forecasting the weather? It should be this industry, which is going to the next level and innovating and using that data to do that. When I was getting into college, my rank list was published in a newspaper, right? It was not online. So you people have all the rank lists of all the colleges from time immemorial, right? Using that, you can tell me if with my level of preparation, what I'm going to get, which college I'm going to get, which discipline I'm going to study, right? So that's innovation. How do you go to the next level with what we already have, right? So that kind of ties into the last part, which is insights, right? There are review articles that are written in the press, which combine the data available and give insights into what's happening with the government, what's happening in finance, what's happening in entertainment, etc., etc. What more insights can you get, right? So with that little message, my 2 cents, I just wanted to close with this slide. As I promised, I will show a little bit, again, like my first toothbrush example, when you look at a lorry, you would probably think that there is not much left to invent in a lorry. A lorry is a basic carrier of goods, right? You have a set impression of what a lorry looks like, what it does. It carries goods from point A to point B, not a very comfortable thing. But there, lots of innovation is going on, right? So 4 topics I've listed on that slide. Powertrains, which is new fuels, new ways of powering vehicles. Diesel is on its way out. What else can you use to power vehicles? Is it hydrogen? Is it electric? Is it a combination? Is it a smart combination of this? We don't need to have a one-track mind. It doesn't have to be electric means it doesn't have to be just electric, right? It can be a combination of something else, right? Whatever makes sense. Second is electronics. Electronics, when I say electronics, I'm not talking about electric vehicles. I'm talking about every subsystem in an automobile, which is becoming electronic and therefore more controllable, more precise, right? The gear shift is electronic today. The fuel injection system, everything about the engine is controlled electronically. So it's far more efficient than it could have been before. Can we push that? Can we push those limits? A diesel engine today is about 40% efficient maximum, right? There are theoretical studies, even partly practical studies, that it can be 50+% efficient, which is a huge jump, right? When I was working at GE in the US as a scientist, GE, if you all know, was started by Thomas Alva Edison when he invented the light bulb, and he started General Electric to market the light bulb. And GE held on to the light bulb because it is a legacy product. It's a very proud product for them, right? And they try to innovate. When California was the first state to ban the light bulb and convert it to CFLs and LEDs and so on, they went and met Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the governor of California at the time, to convince him that light bulbs are still viable, and they're researching light bulbs. They can make it more efficient, right? So everywhere you can innovate. A light bulb is just a filament which gets hot and glows, but yes, you can innovate. You can make it more efficient. You can reduce the temperature. You can do so many things, right? Then materials and then data, right? Materials is what material is the vehicle made out of? Can you make it half the weight that it is today, right? And weight is everything. If you remember from your high school physics, you have an equation called F equal to ma, force is mass times acceleration, Newton's law. Everybody would have studied that. And the first term in that is m, mass. And the less weight you have in a vehicle, the less force it takes to move it, right? So that's a fundamental parameter. So we have a division called Advanced Engineering in Ashok Leyland, which is working on all of these topics, seriously innovating, because we know that automobiles as we know it today will not exist 10 years from now. And whoever can lead that transition will be a winner in the market. Thank you.
Hello. I'll quickly go through a couple of the points that all of them has brought in. First of all, the intersections of different things, what actually works. You need cold and hot together, right? Similarly, if you have a 4-color machine, how many colors can you print out of it? Only a crazy person or a child will think, I can print 6-color, 8-color. Can I not print half and half color? All these things, but all of you will definitely tell me it's only 4-color. It's a 4-color machine designed to print 4-color. But a child thinks the gaps between the cars are the space to be utilized to accommodate more cars on the road. So it is not limiting the when I give this task to my team members, saying that you have to print the 5th and 6th color from a 4-color machine. At the industrial speed, at the speed of a 23 copies of newspaper coming out every second. In that speed, you have to print a 5th and 6th color. Can you do it? Can you use white and pink paper on the same reel stands? Can you use GNP and SNP paper on the same reel stands or same tower? Can you take the complete paper out and glue it in the folder? Nobody thought about using glue in the folder, because when a drop of glue comes in the folder, which is the assembly point of the complete newspaper delivery, it's going to be completely mess. It is going to be a massive accident. One drop of glue will attract the paper and it will wrap around the folder and it's gone in that high speed, astronomically high speed, right? But we did it and we're doing regularly. So it is just the way doctor is talking about that, don't let your mind restrict you. Don't let your thought process be limited by anything. And for us, it is difficult to think out of the box. It is difficult for our us because you have running operations every day. And that's why we have these innovation utshavs. We have this innovation Fridays. We have the time where we just let people, go to a remote area and then put on their shorts and think about different things and say different crazy things all day and night and record down all of them, create treasure chests, create other things, so that out of those treasure chests, one of these days we'll bring out one of the innovations which will actually work and people love it, saying that something is new. I mean, newness is something, it always attracts people. About the toothbrush, today, the toothbrush that is delivered in this hotel room to me, it is a wooden toothbrush, and the brush is dark brown and it's very small, tiny. I mean, the bristles are like 2 lines only. So I was wondering why it is, and then using it, it doesn't get any discomfort to me. I mean, it was wooden, so there's no plastic used. And later on, I realized even the bristles are biodegradable. They are not going to be here for this in this world as a plastic for 20,000 years. They will be biodegradable in a month. So coming back to the toothbrush itself, you can actually think that, why should I use plastic only? Why should I not use anything else? Why should I use only metal for making a car's body? Why can't you use something flexible, something different? So with that thought process, I know we're running out of time. I'd invite some questions. We have a very unique panel here. I know not every day we meet people like Dr. Subramaniam. I mean, really impressed with his deliberations, talks, and I know he is doing fantastic work in the automobile area and his team also. So few questions, guys, quickly, team, you can ask some questions to the panel and we can, yeah. Yes. Are there?
You know, we talked about the product innovation, and we talked about the final product that's actually handed over to the customer in one way or the other. And we also talked about some other problems and trying to crack an innovative solution. Any thoughts the panel has on process innovation? You know, while the product remains the same, there are a huge number of processes which are involved. In our company, we started looking at something which we called as process simplification, trying to break it into smaller steps, easier steps, removing the word specialty completely from the processes. Any thoughts on that as to if you all have done anything different in terms of trying to get the processes sharper, more efficient, while the product remaining more or less the same?
So she's just one clarification. Is it talking about newspaper industry or process as a whole?
I would be very happy if we can get a tip or two from outside the newspaper industry as well as in
So-
within.
Sure. Outside the newspaper industry, I think I'm happy to help. My wife is an entrepreneur, and I can give you that example. She's a musician. She's a classical musician. And when kids go to learn music, right? Traditionally, it's a group class where you have a chorus is what you hear, right? There is one teacher singing a song. There is a chorus of students repeating after that teacher singing a song, right? So what she realized was that arts is very difficult to teach that way, right? Maybe you can teach maths and science, but arts is even more difficult to teach in that kind of a fashion, that kind of a traditional fashion. So she started a school of music where the process of teaching is a one-on-one process, perfectly customized to the student's level and the student's interest. And especially in a field like arts or music, a 75-year-old may know less than a 15-year-old. 15-year-old may know much more. Right? And that 75-year-old does not want to sit in a group class and get embarrassed. Right? So that was, to me, a very classic example of changing the process. The end product is exactly the same. You're teaching the same music, the same song, the same. There are other branches of arts that she teaches, but this worked wonders. This business grew like nobody could have guessed, right? So very simple idea that arts cannot be taught in a traditional fashion, and this is the way to teach. And that just sparked off your thought of new line of business. Anybody else would like to add?
Maybe one word from Pradip.
Yes, I mean, we are working on so many areas, not in the only printing process, but the other processes that is happening at the plant. And we introduced automation to simplify the process. And also some of the work that has been done by multiple people, we through a little bit of automation, creating software, writing script will help us to operate with a less number of people with a more efficient way. So also we are developing solutions to interface number of machines, like what I told in my presentation, like UV system and press. We developed the local PLC system and interface between these two. So these are the processes that we are working on for improvements, and many other also in the pipeline. But yes, that will help us to achieve more efficiency, less wastage, and optimize the timing.
That has been a continuous innovation process that we approach always. Ashish also talked about less number of people operating, more number of machines, more number of operations, less material to create more. So of course, innovation helps in that area quite effectively.
Small thing to add, more technical example. I was visiting one of the plants in Ashok Leyland and realized that to build a bus, there's lots of welding operations. And then welding is a special skill. You need to get people who are skilled in welding. You need to train them. And then to build a body of a bus, there's so many points that you have to weld, right? That it's just a nightmare. I mean, it's a complicated process. Right? So I was asking them, can you change that process? I mean, you still need the same product. You still need that bus to look like what it looks like. So we actually came up with an idea and said, just stick it, don't weld it. Stick it, right? And it's, if you think through it, there are glues and epoxies today, which are as strong as a weld joint, right? Glues have gone to another level. They can literally glue metal to the same strength, in fact, stronger than the parent metal, right? So that was a very interesting process innovation that we came up with, right? It's a manufacturing process, but then it could build the same body of the bus without literally having to do any welding with hardly any skill. All you need is a glue gun. You don't need welding machines. So.
And if you intersect with the life of the truck or a lorry, what is the life of a lorry? I mean, how many years the engine is to run, the technology will change. So do I really need to weld it? Or can I do it with a different way he's talking about? And then the lifelong life cycle of that vehicle will suffice that kind of joint without any problem. And I revolutionized the process of making the body of a vehicle, right? So absolutely beautiful examples. I mean,
Yes, sir. So we had this product innovation called the reverse flap. So whenever we had a reverse flap, we had the same rigmarole of get a special size newsprint, cut it, and put it on the press and run it through certain angle bars. Recently, we had a challenge wherein this process was challenged. They said that we have to get this flap out in a couple of days. And if we have to go to a rewinder, rewind the reel, bring it, it'll take around about 12 to 14 days. We didn't have the time. They wanted it in 2 or 3 days. Our team, we actually changed the process wherein we use a standard SKU, ran it on the press in such a manner, I mean, which was never thought of. You can imagine normally when you take a reel and you cut it, you have 2 ribbons. One is the turning and one is the straight. Here we cut the reel into 3 ribbons, ran it to 2 different reel levels and got the same product without doing any rewinding. Thereby, we could bring the product out in 2 days rather than the normal 14 days. That's one of the best examples that I could think. There are many, but this was the best one. Thank you.
You eliminate one SKU completely. Imagine the logistics of one SKU. Completely one type of material, you just completely abolish that. Let that not even being bought by your procurement department. Such a pleasure it is for them. They actually went and kind of glorified our innovation in their forum, saying that, look, these guys have thought about something, standard SKU, which you are buying, keeping stocks, importing it for a 6 month, 4 months lead time. And now it is available in a matter of a couple of days. That is process innovation. Like in our own industry, that's what we do day in, day out. Sir, this has to be the last question. I'm very, very sorry.
The public doesn't know through what process these are all done. Definitely not. They love to have something different. But any innovation or creating it or taking a trial and making a success on regular production without stoppage is a real task. But that's not going to be repeated often also. So the process have to be studied well, done ourselves satisfied before we go to the market. It is expensive. But we have around 13 different type of innovations, but only 1 or 2 or 3 is used often, not the others. But we are ready with all. So that testing process is also an expensive process where we need some investments.
Yeah. So money that we talk about, seed money is there always. I think all of the innovative companies will have a portion of their profit